Welcome to the Media Nerds Podcast. I'm Dan Vedabonker.
And I'm Kenton Larson.
And Kenton, we have a new radio station in Winnipeg. Are you aware of this? Did you hear about this?
No. Where would I hear about it? On the radio? Every morning I get up and I just turn the band just in case there's a new station that I'm unfamiliar with.
Well, no, it's actually an existing frequency, and it's one that has had many, many different stations. It's the 94.3 frequency, which, of course, years ago was Q94 FM, and for like decades was like the most popular radio station in Winnipeg, and it has since been a bunch of different things. It was Fab, it was Curve, it was... The Drive. It was most recently Now! Which was the source of a very annoying ad campaign that got everybody's attention, but I don't know if it actually worked. And so it is now flipped to Alt 94.3. They are playing alternative music, Winnipeg's music alternative. And which is interesting because like last week or a couple weeks ago, Power 97 rebranded. I'm using air quotes here because it's not really a rebrand. They just basically had a new tagline. They call themselves Winnipeg's Iconic Alternative. So Power is Winnipeg's Iconic Alternative. This is Winnipeg's Music Alternative.
So say that's the name of it?
Yes.
I'm confused.
The name of it is Power 90. Power 97 is still Power 97. This one is called Alt 94.3.
Okay, and then that part, the what did you say after that?
This comes out a month after Chorus changed. They didn't change the name of Power 97. They just changed the tagline. Now it says Winnipeg's Alternative. What did I ever say? Winnipeg's Alternative.
That's the tagline.
Yes, for the Power station. And the format, I guess, they're playing more alternative. Remember I told you about this on the podcast?
Yes.
And you laughed at Foo Fighters.
Yeah.
Because Foo Fighters is included in this.
Right.
Guess what is included in this radio station?
Foo Fighters?
Foo Fighters, yes. It says CHIQ-FM will now play the best of alternative music from the 2000s to now with a playlist featuring artists like Muse, Coldplay, Arkells, Death Cab for Cutie, 21 Pilots, Cage the Elephant, Foster the People, and Foo Fighters. One of these things is not like the other, Kenton.
No, all of those bands have fathered children outside of wedlock.
Oh, well, let's not...
Yeah. Hello.
And nobody cares, by the way.
Yeah, I know. Dave Grohl's, I have a terrible apology for everyone. It's like, I don't think it's us you need to apologize
That's right.
to. Yeah.
Anyway, so this is the new radio station. I haven't listened to it yet, so I'm going to give it a listen today and kind of. I mean, this is kind of music I like, so I think I would like this. But I'm interested to see what they're doing to try and attract new listeners to the station. My other question is, what about all those bus raps that say 94.3 now? There's a lot of them. Because they go hard. The same company that owns the radio stations, Pattison Media, owns the bus and advertising parts of the city. So there's lots of billboards for it. There's probably going to be a lot for Alt now. Maybe they'll flip all the buses to Alt.
I was actually thinking about this. I now spend a grand total of 2 classes on magazines.
Oh, wow.
Like magazine advertising.
That's a lot.
And I know, it used to be 2 weeks. It's hilarious. It's like the magazine rack at 7-Eleven. The classes get shorter and shorter on that topic. And I show them, but there's still print, and it's migrating to online. And the perfect example is Oprah magazine. Oprah is now down to quarterly, I think, and so advertisers can still buy ads. They're still expensive. They're $33,000 for a cover position. And so they're still making money there. But what they really want is for readers to subscribe. It's called Oprah Daily, Oprah.com, OprahWinfrey.com. I can't remember. But you pay $35 or something US for the month. Or is it the year? I think it's the year, actually. And instead of the ad model. And I thought the part that occurred to me, you just said, they've changed it to this format that's to attract a certain kind of listener, a certain demographic of listener. And I always think one thing that the magazines always got right, if you want to be profitable, is you don't actually appeal to listeners, you appeal to advertisers.
Yeah.
And they're kind of they're related. But like the tail that wags the dog of magazines is advertisers. Mm-hmm. If you have something that's appealing to advertisers, then you make money. If you have something that, and hopefully that's a demo who they want to reach. Hopefully. That's the way you do that. But those two things go together. I don't know how much, sometimes when you just read that to me, I was like, it just sounds so generic.
Yep.
It's like maybe if we had a more specific audience in mind, but there needs to be enough of them to make it worthwhile. but something a little more definable than that kind of generic stuff we just talked about, maybe advertisers would be more interested in that.
What do you think it means that both Power and alt now have switched to this format? Alternative is like the new top 40. Yeah. Is this like the new really popular genre of music that is worth? Because I think you're right. I think they are going after advertisers with this format more than the audience. And so, yeah, is that like the new thing that's bringing people in?
I don't. It's too generic to say. I don't think it's the new thing. I think if they wanted to do something new, I think it's by all outward appearances, even musicians who play in alternative rock bands, for lack of, which is what those are, all say the writing's on the wall. It's all dance music now. It's all pop, dance pop.
Right.
Is really, but I think
that's always been more popular than rock though. That's like top 40 is like, that kind of stuff has always been a different type of radio.
But do you in the heyday of 92 City FM, where they would have classic rock was the bedrock thing that they did, but then they would pick and choose some sort of breakthrough artists, for lack of a better way to describe them, and then that would be the modern day hook to get younger people into some of the classic
the
stuff.
Sheepdogs were like that, I think. I remember I didn't know what the Sheepdogs were until I heard them on radio. Yeah.
That's a perfect example of that. But you know what I'm finding in class? That the students generally are more interested like in older than that, like 70s, 80s pop and rock. Okay. That's coming up more often. There's a student in one of our classes who told me, I'm looking for the China Crisis album. I'm like, gee, what? Like British synth pop, like 1980.
That's crazy.
Like that,
my kids like heavy metal. They like Metallica and Limp Bizkit and Korn. My son loves Korn.
What? What's wrong with those kids?
Well, I guess you could think that's kind of alternative. It was a little more on the heavier side.
It is. Yep.
It's on the heavier side, but still like that kind of stuff. So maybe maybe there's research out there that's telling them that young people are liking this music. They're hoping to bring in young people. Certainly by focusing it on the last 2 decades of music, they're going to bring in the people who grew up. It's always the people who like whatever music it was when you were a teenager. That's what you're going to keep listening to for the most part, and so that's who they're targeting.
But that's changed with streaming now for the generation after that. It's going to be a different ball game. But you're right. That's the nostalgia.
But that's so the way that they're marketing these stations has to change now. So it's not going to go like they're like something like a Bounce 99.9, which used to be Bob, which is like. It's hits of the 80s, 90s, and whatever is what they've always said, and that's just targeting boomers. It really is just about the music that boomers listened to when they were young, and that's what every radio station is targeting with a certain type of music. Now, I think it's interesting that you've got Power 97, it's Chorus Entertainment. They also rebranded one of their stations a couple years ago. I think it was Peggy, and they rebranded it to Country 99, Country 99, which is a direct competitor to Pattison's QX 104. So now Pattison is launching a station that's a direct competitor to Power 97. So they trying to eat each other's business here?
It's always been a share game in radio, and it's easier to get somebody who listens to the radio to flip the dial than it is to get someone new to start listening to the radio.
I think especially if it's like playing, like, if you ever, you turn the dial and so they're playing the exact same song, almost the exact same moment. You got 3 Days Grace on both stations, kind of thing.
And it just occurred, I was sort of thinking about the bands that you listen to, like, what's okay, this is what the issue is. Those were alternative bands that broke through and became mainstream.
Yeah.
That's why we're saying they're kind of generic. It's not that they're generic. They were, like, Foo Fighters' first album was like, this is a weird side project from Nirvana's Dave Grohl.
Right.
Like, nobody thought. And I remember seeing This Is a Call on Letterman. I was like, oh, that's a good tune, kind of thing. But I never in a million years thought that would go on to sort of be, like, the dominant force in rock and roll.
Because they were associated with that at the beginning, they've kind of always been seen as an alternative band, right? And I just think the whole tag of alternative is kind of weird. Like, at the time, it felt real because it was honestly the alternative to the mainstream rock and dance music. Like, I loved this music when I was a teenager in the 90s, and I listened to Smashing Pumpkins and all those bands, Jane's Addiction and like whatever the Lollapalooza lineup was in 1992. That's alternative music to me.
Well, I mean, so Beck, Jesus and Mary Chain, Hole, I'm trying to remember who else.
Oh, there's a lot. There's a tons of bands. Anyway, these groups really strike me as this is the stuff that was popular when I was in this program in Crecom in like 2007. So this is like early 2000s.
You graduated in 2007. I graduated in 1994.
Yeah.
And I remember Kurt Cobain took his own life shortly. I think it was right around the time I graduated, or right after. Yeah. Right. And that was kind of the end of that kind of grunge alternative, and Foo Fighters were part of the Dave Grohl moved on with that, and that was sort of the beginning of a new, so almost a glam rock style there with Stone Temple Pilots there for a while and that kind of stuff. So it's kind of interesting, but I do think I even saw Perry Farrell, who's fighting his own bandmates on stage. I saw he's punching Dave Navarro on stage now. So I guess that's the end of Jane's addiction. Okay. And we learned Jane does have an addiction. Yeah. And Jane punched everybody on stage. So Perry Farrell, though, I saw he's also the founder of Lollapalooza. And I saw an interview with him not too long ago where he's like, yeah, Lollapalooza's all dance and rap now. Like that's really like, or hip hop. That's the new alternative. So we could imagine then in a few years that's what the alternative station will be. It'll be it won't be alternative. It'll be the mainstream breakthroughs from those genres.
Yeah. Now I've said for a while that I think radio is dying, and I think part of the reason I think that is because I don't drive anymore. I'm a bus rider and a pedestrian. I do not ever drive a car. I gave up my driver's license. So I'm not like, it's not in front of me all the time. I see the billboards, I see all the advertising for it, but I don't always listen, and I forget. And so when I do take a car, when I take a cab or an Uber or something like that, and the driver is listening to the radio, I realize it is still very much a valid medium for those people, for the people in the car who drive all day and they want entertainment in the car while they're driving, because otherwise it's boring. The radio is still an alternative. But there's also podcasts and streaming on your phone too. So there's that. And the other thing that I realized, and I didn't want this to go on as for long as it has, but I'm realizing my mom had rented a car the other day, and it was a new car, and so I connected my phone to the automated system. It's a Bluetooth connection. Once you set it up once, and so then every time I got into that car after that, as soon as I got into the car, it automatically started playing my music from my Spotify.
Unbelievable.
And so I don't have to touch anything, and it does that. I'm like, okay, this is cutting radio out. It's taking away the choice from people to choose their music, and because
satellite radio was the beginning of that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I never really did satellite radio either.
Neither did I. But that was like when you bought a car, it came preloaded with Howard Stern, basically. And that was the beginning of not having to rely on local radio.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, it's just it's such a strange situation. I would like to see them try to look for more listeners outside of the vehicle. I think that they do tend to focus on that still, because there is still like such a dedicated audience there, and that's
the morning drive.
Yeah, I know. And that's the other thing, is that this station, this alt, is only going to have one live show all day long. It's the morning show is live. Everything else is voice tracked. So it's not going to be live. They say, you're going to hear multiple voices every hour. Great, but they're not going to be live. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if people can tell that or not, or people care. It matters to me. I really I can tell when someone's not live when it's voice tracked.
Yeah.
Because I know, I guess. But anyway. All right. Well, I'll listen to it and I'll let you know.
Yeah. Report back, because I won't.
No, you won't. You won't listen to it. You just listen to your CDs.
Oh, no, I won't. my CDs, and I now stream. I stream off iTunes to my music device at home.
I got a Toys R Us flyer in the mail, and on the front of it shows like these kids they're supposed to be kids with toys, and there's like a kid with a toy robot, another one with like a race car, and one teenage girl holding a vinyl record.
What the?
That is a toy now. Have you been to Toys R Us recently?
No, it's been a while.
They now sell physical media, books, CDs, movies, records. They've now kind of gone, they become partly HMV. And it actually is a partnership with HMV, because HMV doesn't have stores here anymore. They shut down all their stores. So they're selling stuff through Toys R Us.
It's my old joke. Everything available in this store is available online for free.
Yeah, I mean it is, and it's like it's not the best organized. I've gone in there a couple times to look for DVDs, but they're all kind of like thrown on the shelves. So I'm not really wanting to look through all that stuff. But it's kind of interesting to me. And this is a chain, by the way, that's failed in the U.S. Like, it's gone out of business. So this is only in Canada that we have Toys R Us still, and so they have to diversify their business. Being a toy store isn't enough anymore. Yeah. They have to sell records, I guess. And I guess the records are selling. I don't know. Kids like these the stuff.
Yeah.
You know, I've been told not to start a record collection because it's very difficult to move them. When do you want to move?
No, I was at Into the Music earlier this week. I go there once a week, whether I want to or not. I go there once a week, and the vinyl there is between $45 to $65.
Yeah, it's expensive.
Regular price.
Yes, for a new one,
and
right?
I was like, yeah, so I bought my $5 CDs. I bought 2 House Martin CDs and Billy Joel Stormfront only because I go to extremes in my collection. Okay. I need it. The rest of that album is not great, but that's a good song. And so I was talking to the owner, and he's like, wow. He goes like, you'll notice CDs are only 20% of our business now. And I said, yeah, I know, but I'm cheaping out here. As you can see, they're only $5 each, so that's the easiest way to go. And he goes like, I know, like even he's going like $60. And he goes, now when he sells used vinyl, it's pretty expensive too. He's like, he goes, I can't have used vinyl for $5 and then have new vinyl for $62 or something. He's like, that's not going to work. So that has raised all the prices. But then he said his son, and you'd hope that the owner of a record store that his son would be into, but he's like, my son and all his friends are only into vinyl records and reading magazines, like traditional magazines.
Wow.
And in the classes this year, for the first time in years, we make mood boards out of old magazines. And for the first time, I had students going, can I keep this magazine? I was like, yes, you can. Do you have any more of these magazines? Like, I got a box. I got boxes of them. What are you talking about? Of course. So I'm sort of like doling out these magazines to people who really want them, and that is a very. I'm like, part of me was like, I don't think we can do this for many more years because students aren't into it. Like even traditional media, they still you still need to know it. You have to write copy, but copy is all different kinds of copy now. It's all different mediums. And so part of my challenge in the first part of ad semester is figuring out, like, okay, you got to learn the basics, but applying it in different places as opposed to it's print media or whatever. But to my astonishment this year, like right when I think I'm going to make this about Facebook ads now instead of like magazine ads. Right when I'm ready to do that, they're like, we're interested in magazines. So I'm like, okay. They still exist.
Maybe it's going to make a comeback. Maybe physical media.
I think the tangible, like you read more closely when you read in print.
Yes, that is true. Very much so.
So I think things like that, and I think we do have a generation who talks about ADHD a lot.
They do.
Let's just say, and I think that reading physical media is better for that. It helps with your attention span as opposed to the internet, which is bad for it.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay, cool.
But it's interesting. Yeah, this is very interesting topic.
Like the physical media.
How about your kids? Your kids are very online, I think, right?
Yeah, they're very much on. They like the computer stuff, like video games and that kind of thing. Shannon reads. Shannon loves to read. Jack reads too. I was talking about a book I bought for them. I bought them each a book recently.
I'm going to Shannon's school to tell them about Cree-Com on Tuesday.
Okay, if you see her, say hi.
And well, let's see. I'm going to bring some metal albums with me. And I'll see who comes out of the woodwork. Yeah, I'll just hold them up. I'll
tell Shannon if she sees you to say hi because she'll recognize you. She remembers you.
Oh, very good.
From when you were.
I probably won't recognize her.
I mean, it's been a while since you've seen my kids. Hey, it's been a couple of years.
Every time I see them, it's like I realize that I have aged significantly when I see them, because to me they were babies.
They grow a lot. Yes.
Well, they were babies when I met them. They were hitting each other with lightsabers, as I like to point out. And you were not even. You were like walking straight out of the school, not even turning around to look at them, and they were hitting each other with lightsabers. And you were like, I'm not even going to turn around. I don't even want to see this. I don't even want to see this. I'm going to keep walking, and I don't care what you guys are doing back there.
Exactly. Yeah, you better be following me.
Yeah.
Okay, we're like less than a week away from the American election, and I can feel your nervousness.
Sweating like a pig.
But I thought it'd be interesting to talk about the media and how the American media is kind of being used in this election in a very different way.
Yeah.
And it's funny that I saw a piece, I was going to send it to you actually on CNN, on TikTok, where I see all my news now. And it was about the mega media. And it was about all of the different, like, not just Fox News, which is like the primary mainstream platform for these people, for the right wing of American politics, but all these streaming and kind of podcasts and videos, streaming services, like on the Roku, like or Apple TV. You can download these these actual apps. One of them's called Rumble. It's like an alternative to YouTube, but it's for right wing. Like Alex Jones is on there. All these people that have been kicked off all the legitimate platforms are now on these other platforms. Like Truth Social is another one, right? That Donald Trump made up. So there's a lot of this. There's a lot of these shows out there, and it's increasingly popular, and they're basically just spewing all the lies and things you would expect from that side of the political spectrum, but people are believing it. And so it's worrying. It's worrying to see this out there and people just kind of accepting it as being legitimate.
I watched PBS Frontline, the best news show on television, bar none. And they revisited people that they visited all the way, that they first talked to at the 2020 election. And you're meeting like some Americans with some opinions that aren't necessarily informed is kind of how that works. And you start to realize pretty quickly that someone who twists themselves into pretzel knots is somebody who's going to be voting for Trump when they're both terrible is the first sign they're going to vote for Trump.
Yeah,
is if the folks who say that. So like you watch it, you feel concerned. Here in Canada, I go to a class and I just assume everybody hates Trump. Like it's pretty easy in Canada to do that. I don't think if we have, do we have American listeners? I guess we do, but it's different here where you can pretty much 75% of people just don't even understand why he would even be on the ticket.
No, I've seen a lot of different stories about a lot of different people. I saw one about a married couple in the U.S. That one's Democrat, one's Republican, and they're very much like, it's like they don't let it get in the way of their marriage. Like, how can you? I don't know how you can be married.
Yeah, but I've seen the other story too, where it's like I'm divorcing this guy.
Right, that's true. Yes.
Yeah, like that's a story too. But and also, there's a guy who called into a call-in show that whatever it was on YouTube, and he's like, my girlfriend wants me to vote for a candidate, but I don't know what I should do, kind of thing. And it's like, I think I know what it is. I think you want to vote for Trump, and she says you could better vote for Kamala. And I think there's a lot of that going around in the U.S.
The man on the street interviews are the like just going into regular businesses and talking to people as they're working is happening all over the place. I saw this one clip. Again, this is from CNN, or like I follow a number of these outlets on TikTok, and they're all posting stuff on a regular basis. But it's like they're interviewing a guy who's a barber in a barber shop, like a traditional kind of black area barber shop where they gather and talk and that kind of stuff. It's a community spot, right? These places are community spots. So all people kind of showing up there, and they're all talking about the election and talking about who they're going to vote for. And the headline of the video says, undecided voter talks himself into voting for Kamala. Yeah. Because he realized that his wife runs his house. Like the argument someone was giving him is that a woman can't be president because they wouldn't be able to run the country. And he's like, well, my wife can run my household, so I think Kamala could run the country. I'm like, dude, that's just, I don't know. Like that, but that's like,
yeah, I know.
That's like, where they're at for thinking wise, right? Like a lot of people are really thinking that way.
A lady can't be in charge. And you're like, Angela Merkel.
Every other country in the world has had a female leader except for the U.S.
We had Kim Campbell, but
for like a second.
It did, for a second. But I think we're probably ready for someone new to step forward.
We don't have anybody.
Because things are looking kind of dismal here. But I thought when you see Kamala Harris speaking, like at the speech this week, there's the White House in the distance. She looks like the president to me. I don't have trouble making my mind go there.
She made a point of speaking from the same place where Trump was at when he called the rioters to go over to the Capitol on January 6th. So that was the point of that. Trump had his MSG rally, his Madison Square Garden rally, which was just a big racist fest. And
hello.
Well,
that was the most depressing thing maybe I've ever watched.
Did you watch it?
Yeah.
All of it?
Yeah, the whole thing.
Oh, wow.
It's awful.
Yeah?
I was horrified by it, and the thing that I found to be most depressing, which ultimately lifted a little bit, was I was like, I can't, this is basically a big racist rally that I'm watching. So, and I thought we're so used to it, nobody's even going to notice this. But people did.
Yeah. And it was
so that made me feel a little bit better.
But it was one comment from the whole thing. Honestly, there's the garbage island thing is the only thing that really went viral out of that. But there was so many other comments.
It was horrifying.
It was really bad.
Yeah, and then later, yesterday, Trump said it was a love fest. It was a total love fest. His little garbage stunt yesterday where, little Donnie had trouble opening the door to the garbage truck. It's just, to me, It is beyond anything you could imagine. It is Idiocracy. It is the film Idiocracy when you look at it.
A little bit, yeah. I wonder what it's like to be like just watching TV there and have every commercial break be full of attack ads for your political
Well, we get a lot of that here.
We do, but not. I mean, we get the stupid one we keep seeing on YouTube that the conservatives keep running.
Oh, God.
They've changed it up a bit, but it's still awful.
Yeah.
But it's 10 times worse down there. Like every single platform is going to be full of this stuff.
Yeah.
And it's just so maddening.
It is very it's I mean, we're at the point where you can just say whatever you want now. It doesn't matter if it's true. There's no such thing as truth. You know,
well, I just say it's truth. That's what Truth Social is, right? Is if he says, if it's the name of the thing. The other thing I heard about, we could talk about Elon Musk if you want, is that Elon Musk has his America Super PAC, which is his funding for Trump, millions and millions of dollars. And he wants to call it, like he has a Twitter account for it, of course. He wants to call it @America, but somebody else had the @America name, so he took it away from them.
Of course he did.
He just took it. He's just like, no, we want it. We're going to take it. And so, the other thing, and you said this to me the other day, was like we should talk about the big billionaires who own media platforms and who are like getting behind this. And so there was something about what happened with Jeff Bezos and the Washington Post.
First, they were like, the oldest story in the book is that every newspaper does an endorsement.
Yes.
So they had an endorsement ready to go for Kamala Harris, and he nixed it. He said no, and we're not doing that anymore. And they ran a PR piece, let's call it, going like, we're returning to our roots when we didn't endorse any candidates. About 100 years ago when they didn't endorse a candidate is a long time ago.
Yeah, and it's like nobody else has stopped doing it. Everyone else is doing it. The New York Times has endorsed Kamala. Almost every other, except for like Fox News and stuff, which would of course be up for Trump, but every other legitimate news outlet has endorsed Kamala. And it's something I actually saw a good video from the New York Times about it because they explained how it works. They explained that it's probably, they did this probably because the Washington Post did this, but they explained that they keep their editorial and their journal, like the two sides separate. Right. They don't interact with each other. Opinion is separate from reporting.
Advertising is separate from reporting.
Right. It's all kept separate, and they all work independently, and then it all works together. And so that's how they can do that. That's how they can have opinion and accurate reporting. Yeah. And this has been like this forever. Like newspapers have done this for so long.
Yeah.
So and you said there's backlash about this.
Well, there are 250,000 people unsubscribed.
Wow.
To the Washington Post.
That's good. That's
a chunk. And then Bezos wrote an op-ed piece explaining his decision, saying like people are accusing him of obeying the authoritarian before the authoritarian was even in power.
Yep. And
he's like, no, it was unrelated. And someone from the space wing of the stuff he oversees had met with Trump that same day, and he's like, that's a coincidence. I was not aware of that. Like, so he's doing damage control. It's fun to see a billionaire scramble. And speaking of that, today, I don't know what happened with this, but Elon Musk has been ordered to appear in court in Pennsylvania because he's offering money as an incentive.
Yeah. You can't do that.
I think to vote.
Oh, just
I don't
to vote.
know that he says for Trump, but
he has been very clear that he's supporting Trump, right?
Yeah.
So when Elon Musk says, here's some money to go vote, you know who he's expecting you to vote for.
Right. So it's illegal to offer bribes for votes. Is this a bribe? Well, that's what the judge wants to find out. I don't know what's going to happen. I think he's been ordered to appear. Who knows? Mm-hmm. If only he had a spaceship where he could get there quickly. But so these are and people have also noticed, and I've noticed, the algorithm on X has shifted so that now you're far more likely to see. And I follow Mark Hamill and the gang, right? That's who I would normally see him. The lead singer of Belle and Sebastian, Andy Kindler, the comedian, like all of that is normally in my feed. But suddenly I started seeing that the racist Stephen Miller popping up in my thing. You can't block people anymore.
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah. Elon found out he was the most blocked person on Twitter.
Right. Exactly. Of course he was. That was the first thing I did.
Yeah.
Was block him. So the algorithm seems to have shifted somewhat, and I think it has. I don't think that's imaginary. And then now, the Washington Post's tagline is "Democracy dies in darkness," which is like, if that's your tagline and then you as the owner are going to start throwing your weight around, then you got to get rid of that tagline.
Yeah, well, exactly, because that's not good. And I think, obviously, like, I don't know where Bezos leans politically. I don't know if he talks about that or not.
He probably votes for Democrat. I would
so.
guess.
Like, he does strike me as that kind of. But I think what he's worried about is just pissing off consumers. Like, he sees like fully half of America as potential customers, and he doesn't want to alienate them by endorsing Kamala.
That's part of it. I also think he's hedging his bets. What if Trump wins?
Yeah.
I don't want him coming after me
for
my newspaper endorsement because Trump always goes after the New York Times and the Washington Post. Those are his two greatest enemies.
I mean, he would do that anyway. I don't think either way he's not going to care about that.
No, exactly. It's like you're throwing him a bone so he doesn't regulate your business.
Yeah.
If he gets into power.
Yeah.
But if you're the newspaper that says democracy dies in darkness, then it's truth to power that you should be. That's your product is truth to power. So I don't know. I don't part of me, lots of people cancel their subscriptions, but I've got an Amazon Prime subscription. That's a hard thing to get rid of now, especially now if I want to watch a Jets game, 1 out of every 8 or something or on Amazon Prime.
Have you watched one yet on that?
Yes, I did.
How is it?
Fine. It's a lot like just watching it on TV. The ad breaks. It's funny. I don't remember whether they were different, to tell you the truth. I'm going to have to watch another one.
All right. I'll watch one too next time.
And the announcing wasn't quite as good on the one I saw as the local team or the Canadian team. But it was fine. It was interesting. And then they have this coverage called the whip around coverage where on Thursdays, and it's worth watching just once, they've got, it's like, hockey games are boring. So let's just show you the goals. Our panel will just show, a goal just happened. Here you go. Here's a goal. Here's the 4 goals that we've seen in this game so far. Goal, 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 fight, 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 discussion, discussion, discussion. It's just like, why watch one hockey game when you can watch 100 at the same time?
Okay.
That's what it's all about.
Oh, that's interesting.
And it's whip around is like what your neck does when you're trying to pay attention to this thing. So it's it's a new format. I don't know. Is it going to last? I don't know.
Well, I just think it's interesting. I saw a mutual friend of ours on Facebook posting about it and saying that he really enjoyed it. Somebody who was really into those Jets broadcasts and said that he's kind of surprised at how good of a job they're doing.
It's fine. Yeah, it's certainly not bad.
Yeah.
It's just different. It's a little different, but people get used to it.
All right. Well, let's.
Do I want to pay my money to Bezos? Well, I need to order some crap, so I guess I have to keep it for a little while. That's the problem.
It is, yes, yeah. Well, you can cancel your Twitter account, but you can't cancel your Prime account, right? So I know you're still on Twitter, and I quit Twitter a while ago.
Yeah, Well, I worked hard for those 4,000 followers, Dan.
I did not. I did not.
How many followers did you have on there?
2,000 or something.
That's a lot. Did you delete the whole account?
Yes.
Wow, you really...
it's all students, Kent, and I guarantee at least half of your followers are defunct student accounts. Sorry,
I doubt it. I really doubt it. You know why?
Why?
Because I noticed that there would be like a culling at the end of the
Yes, that's true. They would do that.
So they would all unfollow me, and I'd be like, "Well, screw you! I unfollowed you too." Like I had this app called I can't remember what it was called, and it showed you who
unfollows you. Yes,
and I was like, okay, and it just makes it easy, like unfollow, follow. Okay. To each their own.
Yes.
And I always thought that's a weird thing to do if you need a reference from somebody.
Right.
A weird thing.
Yeah, interesting.
So then every once in a while I'll get a message. I'll get a DM now or something like that, and the person will suddenly follow me again. I go, Kenton, I'm used to user reference. I'm like, oh, you did you? Followed me again, did you? After you didn't think you were gonna need my reference, did you? Now you need it, did you? Like that's what I say in my head.
Yes, exactly. I feel your pain. I know I've been there.
But I am the utmost picture of professionalism in my communications, even after the fact.
Let's do some recommendations. I wanted to start by talking about, last week we talked about the Australian Office. Have you watched it yet, by the way? It is available to us. It's on Prime.
I saw that it was. Oh, I thought it was Netflix. It's on Prime.
I saw it on Prime.
Okay.
Or maybe Netflix. I don't remember now. But
no,
again,
I've decided that is not something I want to waste my time.
I kind of wanted just to see how bad it is. But I have not. No, I have not watched it. Okay. What I want to recommend to you is something that it already existed, is what I'm trying to say. They had a show. It is the Australian Office. It's so good and so funny. It's called Fisk. Have you seen Fisk?
I've heard of it.
It's so funny. It is just more of a British style. It's like 6 episodes per season, only 2 seasons. But it's a little office style comedy. It's about a lawyer's office. So it's about this kind of small law firm, and they hire Fisk as the main character. She's like a lawyer who it's kind of like a comedic Better Call Saul kind of a thing, but with Australian accents. It's very, very funny. And it is essentially The Office. It's the same style of humor. It's very awkward and just kind of weird things people do around the office and that kind of stuff. And it perfectly I'm sure it's like accurate to Australian culture. They're big into the coffee stuff, and there's jokes about coffee and that kind of stuff. So there's all kinds of stuff that's great about it. And yeah, I do feel like when they tried to make the Australian Office, like they should have just looked at the show and go, oh, it was already done. We shouldn't do this.
Oh my goodness.
It's really good. Fisk. It is on Netflix. It's really good. It's a great show.
Do you say Netflix or Prime?
Netflix.
Oh, okay, Netflix. I'm going to definitely check that out because I have heard recommendations for it before. Okay, I was like scrambling here. I'm like, what should I recommend? And then I remembered Terry Garr died this week.
Oh, yes.
And Terry Garr, are you kidding me? The Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Young Frankenstein.
Come on.
Mr. Mom.
Good. Mr. Mom.
What's your favorite?
Oh God, how about?
Oh,
okay. God.
Yeah.
Okay, that's not my favorite, but Young Frankenstein is one of my come on, that is such a great film. She is so funny, and she was one of David Letterman's best guests, where she came on and you just knew you were in for a treat because she was so funny as a talk show guest. One time, Dave talked her into doing an interview where she took a shower, it's blocked off so nobody could see anything, where he just held the mic above the shower like she talked. It was very she was up for anything.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
Kind of thing. And she specialized in playing the harried wife of, in Close Encounters of Richard Dreyfuss in that case, the harried wife of the psychopath husband.
Michael Keaton and Mr. Mom,
yes.
and probably some other ones as well. She also played Phoebe's mom in Friends. That was her later in her career. She's big in that too. So she had a lot of great roles. Yeah, Terry Garr. Oh man, I think I would like to remember her. I'm going to watch Mr. Mom. I feel like that's one of her best performances.
And that's one that I haven't seen that often.
Yeah.
But of course my favorite is Close Encounters of the Third Kind. I love that film. I just love everything about it. Even the special edition, which they never should have done, where he gets on the space. No, we don't need him. We don't need to see on the.
Is that the difference between the regular and special editions? He doesn't get on the spaceship in the regular. Nope. What happens at the end of the regular one?
Takes off the end. You don't see the inside.
Oh, the shape don't see him get in.
He walks in. It closes and it flies away. In the special edition, he's inside looking around.
Oh, yeah. And you see a bunch of stuff that doesn't mean anything.
Even Steven Spielberg said he never should have done that.
Yeah.
But he said he did it because that's the only way they could get the movie, the funding from the studio to clean up some of the shots they wanted to do.
So they had to add more?
And they were like, we'll do it, but you have to show the inside of the spaceship. He's like, fine.
Interesting.
Okay, so he did it. But I just, I love Terry Garr in that. I think she's so good, and I think Richard Dreyfuss is so good.
Yeah,
in it, and it's and then of course Francois Truffaut. I always wondered what the French guy was doing in there because a famous director as actor in there. Bob Balaban. Oh my God, come on!
It's a great cast,
yes.
And I always thought it was funny when they would do that kind of stuff, like when Spielberg shows up in Blues Brothers. You know what I mean? Just as a cameo, I love those kind of little things they would do in each other's movies and those kinds of stuff.
I love that stuff too, especially now. If you're a student of film and you see stuff like that, it's just like, whoa, no, are you kidding me? You put this guy in his film? Why did he do that?
Yeah.
But to me, the beginning of Close Encounters, there's a lot that's similar to Jaws, really. But the beginning of Close Encounters maintains that mystery so well, and drags you into the movie so well. And that it's like Star Wars in that it unfolds and everything's weird. It's stuff you haven't seen before. And yet it all makes perfect sense. You never go, what? They're walking on the side of Devil's Tower now? What? They just let them escape? What?
My big issue with it is the government stuff always feels so fake and does not feel real. None of those.
Oh, you don't think so?
No, none of the when they put on the fake thing on the trucks and all that stuff. That's so stupid. I hate that part of it.
Oh, you don't like it?
I hate the cover up stuff. It's so the
Piggly Wiggly.
Yeah,
Come
the
on.
Piggly Wiggly. No,
more
it's dumb.
Piggly Wiggly. I love it.
Complete, and then they don't kill the cows. No. They put them to sleep or something to make it look like all that stuff is so dumb. It's just it's what a kid would think the government would do to cover this up. That's what so Spielberg thought the government would do. I don't think it's what the government would actually do to cover it up.
But then you see Truffaut, and he's with the government, Francois.
I know,
Truffaut.
but anyway,
then they escape, and he kind of and he smiles when he sees them running.
Yeah, I like that part of it. I like Truffaut, and I like Bob Balaban and how he has to like that whole dynamic is awesome. The whole thing where he's like, I was a map maker, and he figures out the coordinates and all that stuff.
Yeah,
but
they roll the globe.
Yeah,
Everybody's favorite. Like it doesn't make any sense.
Yes.
Like they don't have a map lying around. Like no, it's better.
We have to go get this big globe and roll it across the room.
That's better for the medium of film, is rolling
the
giant globe. I love that. It comes rolling out of the office, and the guy's like, that thing costs $500 or whatever like that. The depressed guy who like cares about the globe being mounted in the thing. I love it.
Yeah, it's
like,
good.
why couldn't you just stay in the room and
exactly? They could have all gone to the room.
We need to roll it to the other room because that's better for film.
Yeah. Anyway, great movie. All right, so then they're in memory of Terry Garr. Let's watch Close Encounters. That's a good recommendation.
I watch it once a year anyway.
Me too, actually. I haven't watched it yet this year, so I will. That's going to do it for this episode of The Media Nerds. I'm Dan Vedabunker.
I'm Kenton Larson. Don't let the door hit you on the ass.